I think it's been a while since we posted a video, so now I'm back with another amazing entrepreneur, Hi Mag, who is owner of Eva. Who is helping multiple peer sellers in pricing management and inventory management. So, I'm just gonna call Hi right away on the stream, and just thank you very much, Hi, for taking the time out and having this discussion with us.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure, Hizar, to be with you and your audience.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna start right away with asking the first question, which I usually ask to all of my guests: how you got introduced into Amazon space? Because I have seen from your LinkedIn profile you have been doing some amazing stuff before Amazon as well. So what was the journey like, and how you got into Amazon space, and then moving on, how you developed this amazing software, Eva?
Yeah, that's a great question. I come more from a data part of the world where, I mean, obviously I was graduated from computer engineering, and I spent almost like 20 years in Accenture, IBM, and also Oracle. And before leaving Oracle in 2016, I was the vice president of Oracle in a certain geography, Middle East and Africa. So that was a very nice job. And coming from that very intensive data background, at some point I met with the co-founder of Eva and invested into his Amazon business. And we basically ended up like creating an 8-figure Amazon business. And that was kind of a side thing for me. But as soon as like we reached to a very successful point, being an Amazon seller, we decided that there is a lot of things learned, and why not to translate these things into a software program, a platform that can help all the other sellers. And that's how almost 3.5 years ago we started like developing the Eva idea. And from day one till now, it was a good ride, like really great growth. And that's how we ended up with the Eva idea, how we can help the other sellers to maximize their profits. That's kind of our main theme.
I think that that's been must have been a great journey, because turning from a data background towards an Amazon seller, that's exciting as well, because there's a lot of ups and downs in the business, and then moving towards a SaaS based software. So I think the journey must have been amazing. So let's come to the main question here. How, because most of my audience is just doing PL, so we're not gonna get into the wholesale and retail arbitrage thing. So how is Eva helping some private label sellers out there in terms of pricing management and also in terms of inventory management?
That's a good question. So we started with the software platform first of all, but later on it developed into third-party logistics services. So we own almost 100,000 square feet of logistics warehouses in the US, both in the East Coast and the West Coast. And especially if your audience is not located in US, like that can be also a very good way of using the Eva services.
Yeah, I think
uh,
90% of my our audience is just based out of Pakistan, so that's definitely going to
exactly.
help them a lot.
And we have already a lot of customers from Pakistan as well, because Pakistan is either export from maybe Pakistan or maybe from China, but it ends up like either in the East Coast or West Coast, depending on whatever route makes sense. So there is certainly a great value of using the EVA services. When it comes to the EVA platform, the platform is able to do four important things. Number one is the dynamic pricing management for private label. Number two is the inventory management. Three is the profit analytics. And the fourth is the reimbursement services. So when it comes to the inventory management, we are the only company, because our 3PLs, our warehouses are using a certain EVA software as well, a specific EVA software. So as soon as we receive the items into our third-party logistics warehouses, we are able to show that also on the EVA platform, meaning that the seller, the private label seller, has end-to-end visibility, and it's real time as soon as it enters into the US, they know that they have 200 units on the 3PL, maybe 50 units are inbound to Amazon, 10 units are in transit, and maybe 10 units are available. So everything is like completely visible. I
Yeah,
think that makes a
definitely that's gonna help them in terms of adjusting the prices and all. So one more question about this: do you guys have integration with other software? So, for example, GoFlow or some other inventory management softwares which some other sellers are using. For example, we are using a few. So, do you guys have integration with those softwares? So, if we connect them with EVA and the software will be able to detect the inventory in 3PL in some other 3PL, which can offer API to you guys.
Absolutely. So everything on the EVA software is API based. Depending on the request, and the customer size, we typically integrate with the inventory management solutions. I mean, we are very much like everything is API based, but sometimes it's an Excel, sometimes FTP, sometimes an API integration. So everything works in our situation, and it's very helpful. So as soon as we have the inventory on the 3PL and we send it to Amazon. And by the way, we are also very much aware of the cost. So typically, EVA 3PL costs are 10 to 20% cheaper compared to the alternatives for the Amazon sellers. But more important than that, all our stuff is like Amazon trained. So they know everything about Amazon. One problem with the 3PLs that we decided to run our own 3PLs, because when you say ASIN, they think twice. When you talk about,
Exactly.
Amazon
Exactly.
warehouse, how to pick up, like how to arrange a pickup, how to create an FBA shipment. I mean, it's becoming a problem. So I would recommend to all your guys, all your customers as well. Like, it makes a lot of sense to work with companies that they know Amazon. And by the way, we are not limited to Amazon. We do direct to consumer fulfillment, Walmart, and everything. But knowing Amazon end to end is already saving 50% of the hassle.
Yeah, definitely. That's a great pain because the other day I was talking to a 3PL manager and it was definitely very difficult to explain to him what an ASIN is and how things work on Amazon side. So it's very good to have a platform or a service that knows what we are doing and the pains that we're going through and knows how they can tackle different things that when it comes to Amazon. So definitely having a 3PL like this complements the platform very much.
Now let's move to the platform a bit. Maybe we can start from the inventory management, because one of the biggest challenges is what we call the replenishment forecasting. So let's say from Pakistan to our Houston warehouse, somebody sends 1,000 units, because it's very hard now. Like, you cannot send every month
Yeah.
shipments. It's better to send it even every 6 months, even maybe once a year. Now, in that scenario, I have 1,000 units, and I need to make sure that I am sending them like in hundreds to Amazon. So to know the when to restock and how many units to restock is very important, because you don't want to be overstock on Amazon, or at a low stock on Amazon as well, because then you're going to go out of stock. So
And
the
that hurts definitely.
the software is helping with the restocking analysis, because we know the sales velocity, we know the seasonality and similar products, and the artificial intelligent engine is like calculating what should be the forecast for the next 30 days based on the last 24 months of data, if the data is available. If it's not available, still there is last month data or last quarter data, which can help. It's not always the most accurate, but replenishment forecasting can help the sellers to save the time by 90% when deciding how many units to replenish, especially if
Yeah.
there is multiple
Yeah, I
SKUs.
would sorry to cut you out. I would want to go more granular into the variables that you guys consider for inventory forecasting. So, for example, I'm a seller. It's been like 6 months since I'm selling, and currently I have a sales velocity of 1,000 units per month. And right now, I want EVA to forecast the inventory for the next 6 months for me. So what kind of variables would you guys consider apart from the sales velocity? Because that's definitely, that goes without saying that you guys are gonna look at the sales velocity for the past 6 months. So what are the other variables in terms of seasonality? Where do you guys get the data or something? What are the other variables essentially that Eva considers while forecasting?
Right. I mean, we try to get the 24 months of data because that's what we can get from Amazon if the data is available. If it is available, then it will give us an opportunity to understand the seasonality and predict the next month forecast as well, based on the 24 months of data. Now, if data is not available, we take it from the customer directly, obviously. I mean, and also we have the inventory levels and similar products. Like we look at the similar products on Amazon when we do the replenishment forecasting. That's kind of like trying to create some similar products sphere. Like, you know, maybe there is one product and there's like similar products and how they sell, because we look at the bestseller ranking and and how many units it's sold on Amazon. Typically we have some ideas about like similar products and how they sell. So as a combination of everything, Eva gives a recommendation, but the good thing is the recommendations can also be updated by the user manually. So that's why I say 90% of the time and 90% of the work is saved by the time is saved, and then there is 10% always to check if there is anything needs to be added. Like for example, also Eva checks if the item was out of stock for 10 days, because that will kind of manipulate or change the sales velocity or the average sales. But actually it's an out of the stock situation, so Eva also incorporates that into the calculations as well when the item was out of stock, so it removes that times two.
Yeah, I think that's great because relying on just PSR of your competitors and the sales velocity for the past few months, I think that would give you more or less a pretty accurate idea. But if some sellers want to do some more in-depth research, they can just go and compare some Google Trends and Helium 10 search volume graphs and put the inventory forecasting accordingly. So I think that's pretty much it. You guys are covering the BSR and the monthly sales velocity of competitors part. But if we could just get the Helium 10 graphs integrated somehow or the Google 10 graphs somehow, I think it's gonna complement the data a lot.
It's complementary too. I fully agree with you. At this moment, we let the seller to update the forecast as soon as like the Eva gives delivers a forecast. Now, that's one part of the story. The other part, which is very much used by a lot of sellers and aggregators, is dynamic pricing. And dynamic pricing is where Eva is the strongest in the market, we believe, because we completed the vision of like almost doing everything about dynamic pricing, which means that based on the demand, trends, inventory levels, competition, BSR, tacos, we are able to update, change the prices. Like the prices are changed automatically every day. So it's like done once a day. And that is depending on the demand curve of the yesterday, last week, last quarter, last year. Again, it's a calculated function of the AI. But on top of that, if the inventory is low, then the prices may go up. Or if there is a competitor which is a similar ASIN, and if, for example, our customer wants to be always 1% lower than a similar ASIN on the same category or not, that can be done. And also, depending on the tacos increase or BSR changes, the prices can be adjusted as well. So pretty much everything about price is handled with Amazon, with Eva, and instead of having a static price manually changed, Eva is recommending that let let the system decide between a minimum price, which is what you can afford to sell, and the maximum price, and let system always find the maximum profit between the two. That's our approach.
Okay. So while changing the prices, does EVA let the customer put in some ASINs? For example, I want to see that I want these competitors to be considered before making any change in the price. So do I have the option to just update those ASINs in the platform and let the EVA run price around considering those specific ASINs and all other factors that you guys are considering?
Absolutely. So it is possible, like, to add different ASINs, like that needs to be considered, and either like you just want to monitor the price changes of these ASINs, or even you want EVA, for example, EVA's max price, because EVA is always deciding between a minimum and maximum.
Yeah.
And between the minimum and maximum, for example, you can also say this similar ASIN, which is your competitor, you want EVA's price to be always lower than EVA plays with the maximum price based on the competitor, for example.
Okay,
So
that's good. That's good. And just for the sake of audience knowledge, I have been using EVA for like on more than 70 accounts for the past 3 or 4 months, and especially the dynamic pricing feature, and it has saved us enormous number of hours. And definitely, I would recommend for those guys who are managing multiple SKUs should definitely go and check the services out because it has helped me as an agency to save number of hours, and it's definitely going to help you guys as well. So yeah, then my next question from High would be, because I know a lot of sellers who just have like one or two ASINs. So in my case, where I was managing hundreds of SKUs, it was definitely beneficial to subscribe for EVA because it was saving us a lot of time, and it saved us a lot of money as well in terms of the human resource cost. But for sellers who are just managing like two, three, or maximum four products, it's gonna take like for them it's gonna take more than not more than 5 to 10 minutes to adjust pricing daily. So how do you guys recommend for such sellers to use dynamic pricing features? And if yes, then how do you think that it's going to help them cover the opportunity cost?
absolutely. So first of all, of course, for the smaller sellers, like, let's look at it from two angles. Like, one, sellers with let's say a low revenue, just starting the game. EVA is very competitive in terms of pricing. It's only for $49. So that will be one of the important things. The second is um, launching products. EVA target velocity based pricing can be used, and it's not something easy to do manually, or maybe there is no reason to do that, because it's a new product. You launch it and you don't have even data, so you don't know the demand, you don't know if the initial price is right. And you can define rules on EVA. For example, you can say my initial price is X, but if I sell 2 units, I want it to be, I don't know, 5% increase on every 2 units. Or if I'm not able to sell 10 units a day, then I want the price to be decreased by 3%. So as you
Okay.
define the rule, going up or down, over a period of 60 days, the system will find exactly what should be your initial price. So, and there will be a lot of demand data for the last 2 months. But for the first 2, 3 months, the target velocity based pricing based on the rules will help to define the price and update the price even during the day. For example, during the day, as soon as 2 units are sold, the price will be increased by 2%, let's say, and another 2 units are sold, it will be increased by 2% again. So, which is why it will make sense, even if there is 3 or 4 SKUs, it makes sense to use that target velocity based pricing, because it will be doing a few changes during the day based on the updates and the changes. And then once there is enough data after 90 days, it's still not very easy, like, for a person to decide what is the right price at a given time. Because let's not forget that we always try to keep the velocity the same, because it doesn't make sense to reduce the velocity for the sake of the profit on the Amazon environment. That's why the pure AI-based systems, or pure price pricing, let's say, philosophy-based systems fail because the velocity is also very important on Amazon. And then we find the right point to maximize the profit. Again, even if it is one SKU, if it's low sales, then the price of EVA is low, so it makes sense.
Yeah,
And if it's
I think that's great for profit optimization as well, because all of us, we talk a lot about how we can reduce the PPC cost and how we can increase the conversion rates, but nobody really talks about how we can optimize the profits just by playing around with the price quite frequently. So I didn't knew about, honestly, I didn't knew about this feature, so I'm gonna try this out as well. And definitely for, even for the sellers who just have one SKU, they are not able to look at the pricing or the sales maybe 5 or 10 times a day. They just look at the end of the day and adjust price accordingly. So if we use this feature, it can definitely help them optimize their profits according to the sales velocity and manage stocks better ultimately. Because if it doesn't make sense to sell 30 units a day while your sales velocity is 10 units a day and make less profit. So I think if one is using EVA, they can pretty much optimize their pricing strategy just with the use of AI and a little bit of effort.
Absolutely. And as you mentioned, profit analytics is a key point, especially for agencies and all sellers. EVA calculates the profits accurately because EVA takes into consideration all types of FBA fees, FBM fees, as well as advertising cost per at the product level, incorporates everything and gives you the full profit. And it makes a lot of sense to use EVA. It's kind of an additional service as well for analyzing the profit and ensure that daily profit makes sense. Because very sad but true, maybe 20-30% of sellers, when they connect to EVA and they add their cost information, we understand that they are actually working for Amazon, but not Amazon is not working for them, but they work for Amazon. They make Amazon rich, but they actually
Yeah, unfortunately, that's the case with us as well. A lot of the clients come in and we analyze the account, and a lot of those accounts are in negative profit. So definitely, they are working for Amazon, and Amazon is making a ton of money from sellers who are losing money. So definitely, that's a problem. And profit analytics are going to help us in that space. So, do you guys have other factors like returns considered in the profit analytics?
Yes, the returns is also considered in the profit analytics, and also we have a daily sales dashboard where we calculate the returns in every single kind of sale. We also give an idea about like what's the return rate, which is also very important. And the last thing to mention about the platform is the reimbursement. So we do a complete FBA audit, almost 26 different cases, from lost managed warehouses to lost inbounds. Everything is covered. And that's also done based on a success fee, which also makes sense, because if there is no success, then there is no money to be paid. And the success rate is 13% together with the EVA platform, which is 50% cheaper than pretty much every single reimbursement provider in the US.
Okay, so that's interesting. Reimbursement is a service that I haven't really gotten my hand into. I don't know much about reimbursement. All I know is I get a sheet in the end of the month, and it says how much money that we got from EVA in terms of reimbursement. So I think you guys are doing a good job there, but I'm not really aware of the entire process, how you guys are managing it. So I'm satisfied with the dynamic pricing too much because it has saved me a lot of time, and the inventory management as well. I was not sure that if I could connect the APIs, but as you told me that I can really connect the API, so I'm gonna work on that as well, because there was another seller who wanted to get on the platform, but the problem that we faced, because on the website I could not see any information which was indicating that I could connect my 3PL with the US software. So I think I'm gonna do that with that account as well, because ultimately it's gonna save me some time. So I think that's pretty much, that's great for the platform. I've been using it and I'm satisfied, so I recommend it to the listeners as well. But let's just now get on to the new subject that you have been talking about on LinkedIn and some other posts as well. So recently, EVA is turning into an A to Z management agency as well, just like ours. So what made you guys think that you could just go on and manage the clients A to Z as well? I'm sure it one of the motivations is that when you saw the accounts and they were in loss, you would think that I can really help this client and I could make sure that they make some profit. So what's the journey been like in terms of moving from just a SaaS software towards an A to Z management agencies?
Right. So one of the things is like, I mean, with my co-founder, we were able to create a private label slash reseller business, which is 8 figures. And we know, I mean, even in the past, we had like 15 people working for us, and we know how to manage the A to Z, the Amazon business. Obviously, we concentrated a lot into the data and building the technology to help us to manage, first of all, our own business. And by the time, we work a lot with agencies, so we love that. But some of the sellers, they approach us directly. And when they approach to us directly, they ask for a management solution. And that's kind of the reason why we started like providing that service too. And so far, yeah, we have like, I mean, not too many, but we have like more than 50 brands that we are managing on Eva. It's going well. But at the same time, it's not something like we promote very much, but we just do it. And if somebody approaches to us, we kind of like take care of them as well. It depends, especially like multi country brands, like if they do operations in Europe and US together. It's a business case for us because we have, kind of offices in both Europe and US. So for Europeans to do business in US, for US guys to do business in Europe, different countries, different languages, we are able to take care of that. So that was kind of one reason of that growth. But other than that, like, we work with agencies, and we are very happy with that approach because everybody is powerful or strong in an area. For example, you mentioned you have a lot of customers from Pakistan. I mean, that will never be a strong point for me, but I mean, and I will never go for it, right? So it will be great for me to partner with Celerexa and ensure that, you guys take care of your customers, but maybe I took care of like 3PL services, which is an added value for you. And the technology can work on both sides, right? So because the technology creates stickiness.
Yeah, definitely. For me, when I look at the software SaaS-based services, I see the grass is always greener on the other side, and I think that it's easier to manage a SaaS-based service than do a to Z client management service because a lot of human resources and human interaction is involved in A to Z management of an account. So, what do you think? Because you have seen both sides. Do you think it's easier to work on a SaaS-based service, or do you think it's easier to work with clients and managing A to Z accounts?
So very different businesses. Yes, I did both, as well as I was a seller too. Every business is difficult, but being a computer engineer and coming from a software world, the difficulty of SaaS business is to build a very strong R&D team and to understand the business requirements a lot, and that requires a lot of cash investment in the upfront. And it doesn't happen with like a few developers. Like, I mean, there's a lot of software companies with 3 developers. We have like almost 25, 30 people team now dedicated to Eva. And that's how we are developing now an advertising automation platform, replenishment platform, profit analytics platform, and pricing platform all together. You haven't seen the advertising part yet. Hopefully.
No, I haven't seen. And my next question was basically, what's the next ventures that you are working on? And along with that, are you guys working on advertising analytics? Because I was using a software and now it's not working anymore. And I was really looking at forward to some softwares who are providing the advertising analytics, especially not the automation part, but the analytics. Because currently, if I see some dashboards of some softwares, if I like the dashboard, the software costs about $500 a month. Definitely not a lot of sellers can afford that. But for some cheaper versions of the software, I don't really like the data because it is not very much customizable. So are you guys working on something like that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So first of all, to complete the previous question, everything is hard, but if you are able to do that R&D investment and build a great software, the return is much higher with technology, where you cannot scale a lot with like being an agency. Like you're not going to be the managing 5,000 customers, because it's not that easy
Yeah.
as well. So it's a different business model, basically. So on our next ventures, we are working on two things. Number one is the advertising analytics. So great that you are interested into that, because we are planning to release like a beta, and that will be available to all EVA users in the next couple of weeks. So by end of August, let's say, I'm very sure in the next couple of weeks we will release it, and then we'll start getting feedback like what they want to see. We already have advertising analytics, but it's very high level now. It's only like clicks, dashboards, ACOS data, but now we are going deeper. And there is one thing that you cannot see even on Amazon, which is like, this is my SKU, which campaigns are available on this SKU, or what's the inventory level for this SKU. Like we're gonna be
Yeah, we
this
have to
in.
make a lot of pivot tables for that. Definitely, that's gonna help because it's a lot of pivot tables.
It was a lot of pivot tables, and I'm pretty sure that we are able to deliver that. So that will be end of August at least, latest. Like hopefully we will deliver before. And the second thing is vendor analytics. So we are also working on the vendor analytics, because a lot of vendors are also asking for analytics solutions. So we are going to do that too. So these are the two main things. And the third thing is we are going to synchronize prices with Walmart and Shopify, so that the Amazon price will be synced. And this will help a lot the sellers not to have like buyback suppression issues, and
Definitely,
or what is
definitely.
the best price on Walmart, like I mean, or what should, because sometimes the prices go out of sync. Like you do a, for example, promotion on Walmart, but then Amazon thinks like my price is higher, and
I
it's
will
like,
just suppress the buy box and not let the seller know that I have suppressed the buy box.
exactly. So we are working on that too. So hopefully these three things we will have good news before end of August. The vendor is a bigger project, but we will have the first release. That's the idea.
I think that's great. So I just want to keep this session between like 30 to 40 minutes. So my last question for you would be, you guys talk about decreasing the tag cost of your clients. So what has been like the key strategies that you guys have used for this purpose, especially decreasing the tag cost? Because a lot of services-based agencies or a lot of people talk about reducing the tag cost, but nobody has really come forward and talked about reducing the cost of the sellers, because in the end that's what really matters. It's the bottom line that matters. So what the strategies that you guys use, and how you guys have some advantage because of the platform in terms of decreasing the tag cost for your clients?
Absolutely. I mean, that's a great question. Now, I'm gonna respond to that like with all the things that we discussed. It's actually all of them are helping to maximize the profit, and maximizing the profit means also maximizing the revenue, and making sure that you are selling more. So first of all, on the inventory management side, whatever we do is really to prevent out of stock, right? And a lot of people, companies, they propose or they promise that they do out of stock management, but because we manage the 3PL, we have 3PL software, we manage pricing with inventory based pricing, and we manage the restocking, forecasting with EVA. The full combination can eliminate out of stock situation to like 1%. So the only thing we cannot do is like, if there is no more like supply, we cannot do anything. The only thing we can do, even in that case, is to maximize the profit, because if there is no supply, at least we can sell it with a much better price, right? So if the
Exactly.
system is in stock, first of all, your tacos will go up because the revenue will go up. So that's one, number one. Number two is with dynamic pricing, that will help to maximize the profits again. And maximizing profit means maximizing revenue as well. So if I'm able to sell it, I don't know, 50 cents more at product level, then it will increase the revenue. As a result, it will also, reduce the tacos. So that's kind of a second thing. And finally, now we also like working on this analytics, the advertising analytics, and we are managing a lot of customer accounts for that reason. For that, like we are able to understand what is exactly missing. One of the things that we have figured out is if the advertising is done based on the inventory levels and based on profit analysis, then it will be a much better tacos. The tacos can be reduced by maybe 20% if you are avoiding, for example, the stock is inbound, and instead of like pushing a lot of campaigns, and because the stock is inbound, if you keep the campaigns at a lower bids, it will be much better approach to reduce the tacos. So what we are seeing is pricing, inventory, and advertising. It's a kind of a very much correlated three things together. So that's what we are trying to bring together on EVA as well, which
Yeah.
eventually reduces the
Yeah.
tacos.
So for advertising, do you guys prefer automation or do you guys prefer manual management of campaigns,
I
or is it
think
a
that
mix of both?
it's, yeah, I think that 60 to 70% can be automated. And being an AI person, like I was graduated as the artificial intelligence major in computer engineering 20
Okay.
years ago, but I can tell you that it's very unlikely to have a good working AI system on advertising. And if somebody is telling that the advertising is AI based, it's like probably a marketing statement, not a
Yeah.
reality. Having said that, you can define a lot of rules. It's more a kind of a rule-based system. Is possible to achieve a rule-based system, which can eliminate a lot of checks that, for example, as an agency, you always check, let's say, one single thing, and that can be automated. But it
Yeah,
doesn't
it's
mean,
always about the metrics and the rules behind this. So
yeah,
nobody is not entirely based on human intelligence. A lot of the decisions are based on the biddings and the rule based bidding. So definitely, I kind of 100% agree with you on this, that advertising cannot be automated like 100%. For sure, you can use some softwares that it can put some rules in place, but for it to work on entirely on AI system, I think we are not that far in the technology right now, and it's gonna take probably a couple more years for us to be that in that position to automate the advertising entirely.
no, no, I think it's not a question of even number of years. The context parameters are not available to advertising. So what I'm trying to say is like, for example, with pricing, you know more about the price data, but with advertising, the things change a lot with, for example, like what is the impact of an image into the advertising automation. It's a very subjective
Yeah,
opinion. What is
exactly.
the impact of the text? So that's why the correctness is not like that easy to achieve. So what needs to be done is like using the automation up to maybe 60 to 70%, and always to have an account manager on top, which can help to put the right decisions that a human should be doing. So that's kind of, I think, the best approach.
Yeah, I think that's we talked about a lot of stuff, and I think that's a pretty good note to close on. And in the end, I just want to thank you, Hai, for taking the time out and discussing different things about us with you, about the platform and about the overall strategies that you guys have used to conquer the Amazon space. And
Absolutely.
wish you best of luck, and hope to talk to you soon again.
Yeah. Thank you very much for having me, Zar.
Yeah. Okay. Bye.